Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 6 of Sweet Tooth. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first off, let's start off with Amy and Wendy obviously picking up where obviously they've been marked by the last men, so Amy realizes there's only a matter of time before they return, so she's trying to figure out last second like what she's going to do. So she ultimately decides to get all of the kids to run, and she leaves Wendy in charge of them, you know, and obviously this is kind of like a last resort. She even says, like, obviously she expected they had more time. I guess she figured it was only going to be a matter of time before they found them, but I think she was kind of hoping she'd have a little bit more time to prepare and everything like that, because maybe she knew all along that this was going to be the case. So having to send your daughter off and tell her, and it's like, no, it's going to be okay. We're going to meet up. I just need you to take care of all of them. But the sad thing is, with the way Amy's acting, I'm not sure if she really believes that or not. You like to believe that she believes that she'll come out of this okay, but we don't know for sure. But obviously she's armed and ready for the last man to come in just to make sure they don't follow behind Wendy as well as the others. So we do see it is kind of like a small group that she has gathered, because like I said, we got a few names previously, but we see a little bit more of some of the other hybrids she had taken in. So hopefully things kind of work out on that end. I hope, but I guess like this is also kind of like, you know, apparent in many different, once again, the parallels you can draw between her and Pubba, in the sense of like he kind of let go, but at the same time he kind of didn't. Like, I guess like because of last episode, you could say like Pubba did finally let go, being like, right, you're ready, Gus, and he was telling him that this is kind of what he's meant to do. This is kind of part of his journey. So you see that Amy's kind of doing the same thing. Like, obviously she's been very protective of Wendy the entire time, and now it's like, right, I've got to let you go out so that this way you're safe, and as well as the others are safe. So it's interesting from what we were able to see a little bit of the other hybrids. It does seem like Wendy isn't the only, like, at least from what we saw, that doesn't seem like she's the only, like, mostly human looking hybrid. It looked like there were a few others in the pack, but it does seem like there are some that are like Bobby that are more animalistic than human. So it is interesting. I'm wondering why that ratio seems to be off in some regards. It's not like an exact 50-50 sometimes. It is more, it does seem, it leans more ways in some cases. It seems like maybe the human looking hybrids are the more human characteristics are less in most, and the more animalistic are, like, you know, the more dominant gene, I think. I don't know. Once again, we haven't seen a whole bunch of hybrids to really compare and contrast between, you know, so just something I just think is interesting. I mean, obviously the babies, when we saw it in the beginning, were like very 50-50, but like maybe like as they got older, they swung one way or the other, of looking more human, like I said, human, or whether looking more animalistic. But so just an interesting thing in its own right. Obviously, we're also dealing with the aftermath with General Abbott, Audie, and Rainey. So obviously he's got the book, so he's like, I kind of don't need you, and he was about to bounce, but Rainey's talking about the fact is, you need us alive if you want to find a cure. And it's like, oh, seeing that she's sick and everything, but it's like, she's not contagious. And it's like, oh, like, yeah, it's like, he's kind of like, yeah, if that is the case, why does she look the way she does? Well, because you didn't send us the hybrid that we asked for. And it's like, okay, understandable, you know. So but obviously, Addie was able to kind of talk out of his ass and be like, oh, you need to do this, and this. There's some chromosome stuff that, like, Gladys missed in between, so you need us alive. You need both of us alive. And it's like, all right, fine. So I'm bringing you on. You get new accommodations and everything to work on this cure. But like I said, Addie was BSing. He was bluffing. But for him, it's stressful. Like, obviously, he's looking for the tile pieces. He can't find all of them. But it's just, that was just him, because it's like, everything they know is getting uprooted. Plus, it's like, it's only a matter of time before, like, Abbott finds out that they were bluffing, you know, and it's like, what's it going to do to us then, you know? So they do seem like they might have an ally on their side. Granted, it's the last man that was kind of told to look after him. I forgot his name already, but he seems a little more, like, malleable than most might be. I mean, it seems like he might have screwed up sometime in the past, because it's like, right, Abbott was like, don't screw this up. And he's like, right, yes, sir. So But the fact is, he's willing to kind of, like I said, he's a little more malleable. It's like, right, what about Trixie, their horse? He ultimately, at the end of it, like, ended up letting Trixie go. It's like, don't worry, I let her go. She's free. And it's like, yeah. So Addie, talks a little bit more to Rainey about, for him, what did ultimately make him quit was all the patients he wasn't able to save. It's like, how am I going to be able to find a cure? No one's been able to find one for the past 10 years, But for him, it's like, he made a promise to so many people that, they were going to be okay, that, they weren't going to kind of suffer in the end. But for him, it's like, no matter what I did, like, those people still ended up dying. And that, to the point that it just happened over and over and over again, that he numbed himself to it. But because of that, he was like, I never want to be in that position again, so he quit. But now he's finding himself, after everything, after Doug, after Nancy, he's finding himself back in that position again. I even love that little, like, it was earlier, but Rainey making that sly comment of like, Trixie actually helped us out of quite a few jams or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but obviously Trixie did help them out with the whole Nancy thing inadvertently. So, but Rainey believes in Addie, like, that everything's going to be okay, that he's going to find a cure, that, that this will all work out. At the very least, you hope that it does. I hope Rainey's still alive to be able to benefit from the cure, but also, once again, we still know what the cure takes, and so it's just, there's no good solution so far. Once again, Addie, at the very least, hasn't been able to find an alternative to all of this, so hopefully he does, but we don't know. Obviously, the last thing we see is them being having bags put over their head and being taken out of the neighborhood, because they're not supposed to know where they're going, because I guess no one's supposed to, unless you're a last man, no one's supposed to know where the main, like, hub of the last man is, so I'm assuming that's where Addie and Rainey are being taken. So the next aspect of the episode, let's focus on everything that's happening on the train. Well, first and foremost, they had to catch the train, so I like that Gus pulled a little bit of an Indiana Jones / Nathan Drake, grabbing onto that hook and swinging onto the train. Luckily, Bear was able to catch up, but not as good for Tommy, just because, well, the fact is, I'm sure his leg being in the condition it is didn't help at all, but I did like that moment, kind of like, obviously he's thinking back to his past as a football player, and just like, that motivates him to kind of push for more and more. Luckily, he was able to catch the train, and just being like, wow, she's like, I didn't expect, Bear's like, I didn't know you had it, and he's just pointing his finger like, shut up, so luckily they're aboard the train. It's just a charter, so luckily there's no passengers. Sadly, they didn't realize until like late in the episode to find out, oh, they're a last man aboard. I was almost worried about when they ran into Jimmy. I thought Jimmy was going to be a last, but it's like, nah, because of like the way his brain is right now, just because of all the concussions and stuff like that. It seems like him and Tommy, just neither one of them kind of walked away. Either, once again, we don't know 100% if like what Tommy got is a byproduct of his time as a football player, or is it a byproduct of, his time as a last man. We don't know. But to what started it all, well, let's backtrack a little bit. Obviously, you have, like, we learned a little bit more about Barry this episode. We learned that she had a sister that she ended up losing. I was just like, oh, that's gotta suck. Which I think that kind of leans more into, like, her relationship with Gus. Whereas, like, Jesper's kind of got, like, for Tommy, Gus is more of like a son, and then like, Bear and Gus kind of have that like brother-sister relationship. She's kind of playing the role of the older sibling and everything. So, obviously she plays I Spy with him and everything, and it did just seem like all of that kind of hit just Tommy. I never really call him by his last name, but I keep almost slipping into it just because most people end up calling him Jesper because it's his last name and everything. But it's like, most times I refer to him as Tommy, obviously, like I have in previous reviews, but regardless, it did seem like it was, like, seeing them playing together, it just kind of hit him a certain way, because I guess, like, hearing about her having a sister and everything made him kind of a little more sympathetic to her situation, like, right, it wasn't just her parents, she's lost someone else, as, like, a sibling, like, so maybe that's why, like, both her and it seems like Tommy are both kind of filling that gap a little bit with some of what they've lost. They got it back a little bit with the time that they've spent with Gus and just being around him, and I guess it kind of restored a little hope from the pessimism that each one of them has. Because even though like Tommy can be a little optimistic in certain regards, I think his experiences kind of made him jaded, very much like Bear, on just like the way the world is. And obviously, like he's just, like I said, wanting to hold on to that optimism a little bit more because of Gus. But, you know, Bear wants to be a little pessimistic because she wants him to keep real expectations about the world not, you know, especially someone who's still bright-eyed and bushy-eyed when it comes to the, you know, the way he views the world and everything, you know? So obviously he talks a little bit about his papa. It's like, right, you know, it's like, look, just like you miss your family, I miss my papa. But also like, yeah, my favorite memory of him is when he gave me dog. And it's like, oh, that's your toy. And it's like, yeah. And he wants to show it, but he ended up losing it. And obviously for him, he started stressing because, and the reason why it's so important to him is like, not only did his papa make it from his socks, it's the only thing he has left of his dad that smells like him too. So it's like, it holds that importance for him. So, he ends up running away trying to find it while obviously they were dealing with the whole Jimmy situation. At first not recognizing who they were until it's like, whoa, Jimmy? Tommy? And it's like, hey, we used to play together, and it's like, used to be part of the Guardians and everything. It's like, right. I love Bear's response of like, great, there's two of you now. But obviously they're looking for further up in the train, but luckily Gus didn't go that far up because, you know, Bear did go further up and found out there were last men on the train. So obviously he was talking about it a little bit, but we never got into it, like why they were transporting all of this. I'm assuming that he was transporting stuff to like the main hub of the last men or something like that, dropping off supplies for them, because it was like a whole bunch of like particular chocolate bars, which we know that that's what they used to try and like two of the last men tried to, like, at least we assume they're last men, tried to lure Gus away with them in the first episode. So maybe there's some significance to that. What necessarily, who knows? Because Jimmy didn't get a chance to explain because Abbott kind of, Bear kind of cut him off just because it's like, right, we're, you know, more so got to deal with the current circumstances at hand. So obviously they head to the back of the train and it's like, right, we're going to have to jump. But before that, like at the last second, just because the last men are in a car in front of them, it's like, all right. But Tommy sees Dog and he's like, you gotta be shitting me. So he's like gonna do something stupid. I thought he was gonna go like full blown, be like, okay, I've got this hybrid I've captured and stuff like that. I thought he was gonna fully play the role of a last man, but it was like, nah, just enough to be like, yeah, there's an issue, gas leak in the back of the train, don't worry about it. The stove is electric. What? It's like, it's electric, not gas. He grabs Dog, bounces, and is like, all right, here's Dog. You need to go jump off the train. Me and Jimmy will hold this off. But, you know, Gus is like, we're going together. Even Bear saying, no, we're going together. And Jimmy's like, no, you go ahead. Which he's like, no, like, if they capture you, Jimmy, they'll kill you. He's like, but the fact of the matter is, I'm not right in my head. Like, let me go out on my own terms doing what I used to love. You know, it's like, go be with your family. And I think that meant a lot, hearing that being said aloud, too. I think it made Tommy realize, like, right, this is kind of like this makeshift family I just made for myself, isn't it? You know? So all of them ends up jumping off the train. And I love the whole thing with Jimmy where it's like, just wait for it. And the guy's like, what? He's like, for me to knock your lights out. We're going to town. And it's just like, Jimmy just like, blow after blow. You're like, yeah, Jimmy. But then, like, obviously they overpower him. You hope they didn't kill Jimmy. You hope that it's like, not. I hope my boy Jimmy's still out there. He's okay. Like, but that could have definitely been his end. I hope it's not. I hope that him and Tommy are able to meet up. Because they talked about it a little bit. It's like, oh, what about the rest of the team and stuff like that? It's like, right, they're gone. It's like, oh, yo, D-Train, what about this? What about this person? It's like, no, they're gone. He's even, interestingly enough, the one that brought up more about Tommy, saying like, oh, yeah, last time I saw you, like, I think he said Laura was her name. And it's like, oh, she was pregnant with the baby. And Bear heard that. It's like, whoa, you had a kid and everything. And the baby was probably never born, like, because he's like, oh, so what happened to him? Was it the sick? And it's like, Tommy never answered. It could have been the sick. It could have easily been like, just this world in general could have led to that. We won't know. I doubt Tommy's going to bring it up. But after they were off the train and everything, Tommy was talking to Barry. He's like, I know you were going to go south afterwards when we got here, but I mean, if you want to, you could stick with us for us. She's like, I'll think about it, you know? Because I think she's starting to... They're both seeing a different side of each other. Like, right, like, you know, I mean, it wouldn't be too... I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing ever if you stuck around. I mean, because she was also seeing, like, right, it's super sweet that you went through all that trouble to get Dog back for Gus. And she's like, what? He's like, what, you didn't think I had it in me or something like that? Which I think, no, she didn't. And so they've definitely got a different appreciation for each other. So we do find out that they are in Essex because Jimmy gave them a clue on where to go. Like, that the place that they're going, Grogu, it's in Essex City, which here we are. So they're in Colorado. They're one step closer to finding his mom. Everything is converging here because that's where the zoo is. I'm assuming that's where General Abbott's going to be taking them as well into that general. And so it's all coming, like all the plot threads are leading to it's very much, interestingly enough, I think of it as like, I mean, a lot of shows do this, but it's very much a Stranger Things thing that, like, I've noticed this mostly with Stranger Things, that usually it's like near the end of the season is when, like, every group who's like, oh, I gathered this information, you know this side of things, you've been dealing with this, you've been dealing with that, and everyone comes together finally, like, near, like, around this point in the show. Like, that, it definitely has that kind of vibe to it. I mean, like, once again, like, a lot of shows do the whole, like, converging of, like, plot threads all at once, kind of going towards the end. But, yeah. I'm really interested to see where this takes us now that we are in Colorado, now we're in Essex. Like, we are close to finding his mom. All you're doing is hoping that it ends up being all that Gus hopes for and more. I hope it doesn't turn, you know, bad or tragic, like, because you could just definitely see this not being a good situation, that this could all end up turning bad. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. There's only 2 episodes of the season left, so I'm really interested to see where the next episode, the penultimate episode, I've been using that term a lot more recently. I mean, people make a point of saying the penultimate episode, that now I'm kind of gotten to the point I'm saying it as well, but I'm really interested to see where the penultimate episode of this season ends up taking us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.